Purity balls are these totally creepy ceremonies where preteen girls and their fathers kind of come together, and the daughter pledges to her father and God that she's going to be chaste until marriage. And the father promises he will protect his daughter's chastity. It's kind of like this creepy wedding ceremony for girls who only recently began noticing boys. And there's a number of things that are wrong with this ceremony. So let's just kind of run through some of those items. You don't even know what you're signing. I mean, these girls sign a pledge that they're going to remain abstinent until marriage, and you're asking a 12-year-old to sign this. Like, how much does a 12-year-old really know about what she's signing there? You might as well tell her, hey, why don't you sign this contract that says where you're going to college, or why don't you just tell us, you want this mortgage on a house or something in this location for the rest of your life. I mean, when you're 12, you don't know what you're going to be doing 5 years down the road. You don't know what you're going to be doing 5 days down the road. So to ask them to basically sign their life away, granted, it's not like a binding contract by law or anything, but asking them to sign this thing is just a ridiculous idea in the first place. You're telling 12-year-olds to sign this pledge, and what happens if they break it? They're basically breaking a promise to God, and they're completely disappointing their parents. You're asking a 12-year-old to never do this, and when she's 13 or 14, and let's say she has her first kiss, she's basically having to go through this trauma of, oh my God, I've done something wrong. I've let down the people in the world that I care about and who care about me. There's something I find very abusive, to exaggerate it only a little bit, to say you're letting down all of these other people because you did something that pretty much everyone does. The ceremony really is like a pre-wedding ceremony. There's, your father and the daughter, they're going to dance together very slowly. The dad is going to put a ring on his daughter's finger. There's even part of the pledge is that the Lord is going to be your husband until the day comes when you get a real husband. And your daddy is going to be your boyfriend, which is just weird. They're not just signing a pledge to not have sex. The pledge also says they're never going to kiss anyone until their wedding day. Kiss. They're not going to do anything. The very idea of a purity ball suggests that anyone who ever does kiss a guy before marriage or ever does do anything sexual before marriage is somehow unpure. And she's not worthy of God's love, or she's not worthy of her parents' love, or there's something wrong with her, when none of that is the case. Like, your moral worth should not be tied to your sexual activity. The entire concept of a purity ball is for fathers to help their daughters out. But there really isn't a strong push for purity balls for guys. They've tried this thing for integrity balls, but it never really caught on. But when you hear the phrase purity balls, you are talking about daughters pledging to be abstinent until marriage. There really is no big push for young Christian guys to remain abstinent until they get married. So there's this complete double standard at play, as if it's the girl's job to remain abstinent, but the boys, you can do whatever you want. One of the biggest problems is that the purity ball implies that when you finally meet that special someone and you do get married and let's say you do have some fun on your wedding night, everything's going to be amazing. And as anyone who's had any sort of, sexual experience can tell you, that's almost never the case. It's not like you magically just run into anyone and all the sex is amazing. No, you need to have time to get compatible with someone. You need to figure out what you like, and you need to learn how to adjust to what your partner likes. That's not going to magically happen on your wedding night. So this idea that you have to wait until the right person and the right moment, and you pledge an oath to God, and then bam, everything's going to be amazing, that's a complete pipe dream. That's not how it works in reality. And to give these kids this idea that, no, that's exactly what's going to happen, it forces them to miss out on the chance to learn how their own body works and how their partner's body works. Finally, the problem is that these purity pledges, just don't work. People who sign these purity pledges, the children who basically sign off their sex lives until their wedding night, they actually make a lot of harmful decisions on their way to their wedding night. They may decide, I'll have oral or anal sex instead, because that doesn't count. And even worse, they do it without protection. Or if they do have sex, they don't use condoms or birth control. I mean, completely foolish thing to do. And the idea that parents can shelter their kids from sex, they just won't think about it if they sign this pledge. They'll just wait until their wedding night and then bam, everything will just totally make sense. It just doesn't work. And in the process, they're basically not giving kids the information and tools they need to make good decisions. Basically, these kids are completely uneducated about how sex works and how safe sex works because their parents think that if they just shelter their kids from sex until their wedding night, they won't even think about it. I'm a high school teacher. I work with kids every day, and I can tell you that you can shelter them as much as you want as a parent. It's not going to work. It's on their minds. The thing you want to do is at least give them good information so they can make the right decisions for themselves. And just to be clear, I'm not against anyone deciding to be abstinent for themselves until marriage. If you want to do it, fine, go for it. But this idea that there's something wrong with your moral worth, that there's something you're doing wrong, or that you're not worthy of a parent's love if you do anything sexual is completely ludicrous. That's why these purity balls aren't just some cute rite of passage. They're actually really harmful. My name is Hemant Mehta, and I write at friendlyatheist.com. Please leave your comments below, and we will check them out.